Westfield Memorial Hospital provides high-quality health care to residents of Western New York, offering patients the most sophisticated medical advancements while keeping the ease and familiarity of a community hospital. Support for Chautauqua Sunrise has been provided by WRFA 107.9 FM, Jamestown's public radio station, streaming online 24/7 at WRFALP.com. Low power to the people. Chautauqua Sunrise is made possible by a grant from Fredonia Place, a continuing care retirement community providing dignity in a modern luxury environment. Meter's Restaurant, a family tradition for over 50 years in downtown Ripley, is a proud supporter of Chautauqua Sunrise. Meter's provides all-day dining, banquet services, and custom catering, specializing in pie. Funding for Chautauqua Sunrise is provided in part by the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency, with offices in Jamestown and Dunkirk, helping businesses to prosper throughout Chautauqua County. From supporting people with disabilities to enjoy great lives, to providing health care services that are available to anyone, the Resource Center has been improving our county for more than 60 years. Learn more about how the Resource Center makes a positive difference in people's lives. From the Access Chautauqua Studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Chautauqua. We are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week from 9 to 10 a.m. Send events via email or call us live. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook. And now, from the Access Chautauqua Studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Well, happy Saturday to all of you. Whoa, I heard something weird in my earpiece. What was that? There's a boing. What are you guys doing to me? Oh, I know, it's April 1st. There we go. I was wondering Justin, what is happening in my life here?
Blame my dad.
Blame your dad. Thank you for that. Happy April 1st. I'm Doc Hamels and welcome to Chautauqua Sunrise. Good morning to all of you that are watching me right now and my guest and everybody here on channel 1301 on Spectrum. Good morning to all of you that are watching us live through streaming throughout the world. Our friends in the Ukraine, over in Belgium, over the Netherlands, across the United States, wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, and we're not sure what time it is where you are. I also want to say good afternoon to all my listeners on WRFA 107.9, Low Power of the People. Thank you for joining us Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. It's so good to be able to know that we go all over the county through a variety of means and through social media. Let's see here. Also remind you that if you missed this show or you want to go back and say, what did your guest say on that topic? We also are rebroadcast at 2, at 8, every day right here at Access Chautauqua. Okay? So glad you could join us. I invited my guest back, Steve Kilburn, because we were talking about our topic about addiction back in January. We got done and just looked at each other going like, whoa, we only got this far into the topic, so we're going to try to go another little bit into it because this is a massive topic to talk about, and we just feel so important that it's so important for all of us to understand what it is, the ramifications of what it is, and just try to wrap our heads around the whole topic. But I get ahead of myself, so stay tuned. Hey, 55 degrees outside of the studio this morning. Not bad. April 1st. Well, yesterday was kind of Kind of gross, wasn't it, Justin? It was kind of cold and chilly, but sun was shining today. It's a little windy. I guess we're under gale force wind warning or something like that. But what else is new for this type of year and season in this area? All right, as you know, we are live right now. And if you have a question, comment, like last week, we had a birthday. Someone called in about their own birthday, and Chris Bird had his birthday last week as well. So 716-753-5225. Please, 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 if you have a question about addiction or a concern, want a phone number, anything you want, you can call in today and ask a question. And you know, the old cliche, there's no such thing as a stupid question or dumb question except the one that's not asked. So you don't have to identify yourself necessarily, or you can call in, say, I want to talk to them, but I have a burning question. They'll write it down. Justin's magically, see where my hand goes? He magically hands me the question, and we get it on the air, okay? So this topic is that important, and please take advantage of Steve's expertise on this topic. Okay, so I don't want to take a lot of time on other stuff other than just to mention a couple of quick things. Okay, today is something that I've never done before. You got those pictures, Jeff, that I sent you from the arena? I'm part of a group called the Midnight Growlers, a band, and we've been asked to play at the Northwest Arena. And somewhere in that picture is buried the stage off to the right. We did a sound check yesterday, and we're going to be over at the Grapes and Hops Festival. They're going to be featuring spirits and various local breweries and local wineries and distilleries, and they got what do they call those things? Things you can take home and brochures, and I think they're going to be selling different things. There's food. It's just a fun day to get out. There's tickets. I think it's $15 at the door, something like this. Should be a lot of fun. We're going to be playing from 3 to 6. So if you have an inkling to do something today, come on down to the Northwest Arena. It should be a lot of fun, okay? And then, so we're good on that. And then I want to do a shout out to Grace and Abe's. It's a restaurant over in Westfield. We played there last week, had a great time, and we're going to be there again. I know it's hard to believe, next week. And if you haven't checked out that particular venue, it's a pizzeria. It's got home brews and things like that, and a nice venue. Now, why do I mention that? Self-serving purposes, obviously, for my band, but also to remind you that live music is everywhere in this county, and we are so blessed to have so many different types of music, different venues, just everywhere. And all I can tell you is check out the newspapers, go on Facebook, look up the bands and things like that. All my brothers and sisters in arms and guitars and drums and stuff like that. So just get out there, enjoy the nice weather, and enjoy some great music. We're just kicking off the entire season of music and so forth. All right, let me make sure I've covered everything I wanted to. Okay, so let's now go to our community events. Remember, this is free of charge. If you have something, you can send it to us here by email. It's called chautauquasunrise@gmail.com, and we will be happy to get your announcement on the air. Remember, you also can call in today and do the same. All right, let's start out with Infinity's Pearl City Clay House. They have some announcements on different things. We had Deborah Eck here not too long ago and just tell us all about what a fun place to go to if you want to do something as an adult. So let's read what they have here. Pearl City Clay House, a new satellite component of Infinity Visual and Performing Arts, announces upcoming classes and events at their recently opened downtown Jamestown location. Pearl City Clay House is a community art space for everyone, from novice crafter to the artists with years of experience under their belt. Taking a class at Pearl City Clay House will provide support for our community's creative youth. 100% of all Pearl City Clay House profits will support youth music and arts programming at the Infinity Visual and Performing Arts Center. How cool is that? All right, so this is what's coming up for April alone. Oh my gosh, it's going to take a while. I'll get through it. Today, Monster Bash. Use your imaginations to hand build some crazy monsters of your own. They'll supply the clay, the color, and expert instruction, and they even keep all the mess. Come enjoy some family time and create some memories together. Next week, Dino Day. Oh my gosh, my grandson will love this. Bring your family to be immersed in an afternoon of dino-filled fun. From assembling dinosaur fossils and painting your own masterpieces to enjoying a snack and story time. From April 12th, Wheel Roots. It's a new session. This 6-week class is an introduction to throwing on the wheel for those who want to learn the process from lump clay to finished pot. It will cover all the basics of working with clay along with approaches to throwing plus trimming and glazing your work. Justin, have you ever done that? You know, I think that would be fun. You know? I've never done that. I'd like to try that. April 12th also is Clay Roots. It's a new session begins. From pinch pots, I've done this, to coil forms and slab-built work. This 6-week introduction to working with clay includes everything you need to get started creating your own masterpieces without ever touching a wheel. April 13th, wow, Embroidery Explorers. Jump into the world of embroidery with Deb Eck. Learn easy, simple stitches that build on each other and create beautiful decorative pieces that you can proudly display, no experience needed. My wife is very good at that. She likes that. April 13th, also Paint and Sip Place Setting Series. 5 times fast. Paint and Sip Place Setting Series. Paint and Sip Place, that's Join artist and illustrator Sarah Brown in our Bisque studio to create your own unique table setting. Join in for 1 week to make a single item for the full series to create a full table setting. So I guess you can be there one time or for a bunch of times. Then the next day, April 14th, folded clay cups. I don't know what that means. Join Debbie Penley in the clay studio to make a pair of small folded slab cups. I don't know what this means, which Deb says would be perfect for whiskey. Or shape the pair differently to make creamer and sugar bowl. Okay, the 15th, coiled magazine bowls. Let's recycle. Turn old magazines into these fabulous bowls to grace a coffee table or catch your keys. Debbie Penley will share her technique and all the materials are provided. Perfect for beginners. Bring a friend and relax in our beautiful craft classroom. Coiled magazine bowls. Okay, and there's just more stuff coming up, so you can check out their website. And this is all one word, pearlcityclayhouse.org. Okay? And of course, if you have more questions, give them a call at Infinity at 664-0991. All right, let's go on to the next one. This just came in not long ago, slide 16. Do you know a high school student with artistic talent? Please encourage them to participate in the 2023 Congressional Art Competition. This is the first time I've heard of this one. I don't think we've announced this before. The winning piece will be featured in the hallway leading to the U.S. Capitol building. The student and a guest will receive complimentary Southwest airline tickets to attend a ribbon-cutting ceremony on June 20th, 2023 in Washington, D.C., with other winners from around the country. Additional prizes will be awarded for the first and second runner-up, as well as top online vote earner. Students living in Buffalo, Niagara Falls, Tonawanda, Amherst, Cambria, and just all kinds of places throughout the region here are welcome to participate. And for more information, give me a call at 716-852-3501. Okay, 716-852-3501. Okay, coming up next. This is from the Office of the County Executive, and this might seem a little kind of like off track here, but it's an open invitation for seniors. So here we go. You don't stop playing because you grow old. You grow old because you stop playing, and that's my mantra for playing music. The annual Chemung County Senior Games are starting May 23rd, and they invite anyone 50 and older to join in the fun. Well, that will be half of our crew here, right? We welcome participants as well as spectators. This is a great Your time's coming, Justin. This is a great opportunity for people to join in and participate in a variety of local events and showcase active older seniors. The games include golf, bocce, one of my favorites, bowling, archery, volleyball, softball, pickleball, cornhole, and shuffleboard. Events are divided into age brackets with awards presented to the top three finishers in each age group. There is a nominal $10 registration fee necessary to participate and minimal charges for some events. The first 500 paid participants will receive a Senior Games t-shirt. Okay, so there's all kinds of competitions, and it's for the region throughout the area. So if you're interested and you have a group that wants to go travel a little bit, give them a call at 607-737-5520. 607-737-5520. Okay, now we've got some events going on today, not too many of them. So real quick, I already talked about the Northwest Arena. That's over on 3rd Street. Let's see what it says here. It starts at 3 o'clock. Designated driver tickets are available at a reduced price. Designated drivers must be 21 to enter the festival. Let's see. I was wrong. General admission is $30, and the day of event is $40. For more information, you can go to grapesandhopsfestival.com. All right. Then April 1st, Easter Carnival at the Chautauqua Safety Village, which just down the road from here. Okay, these are my good friends over at the Asheville site, the Hughes Center, at the Chautauqua Safety Village. They're going to have the Easter Bunny, and your admission, which includes a bounce house fun, games, crafts, train rides, cars track, not sure what that means, Easter candy from village buildings, and a visit with Easter Bunny where you can take your own picture with the Easter Bunny. Okay, you can also purchase kettle corn, food, and drinks. Mission for adults is only $5. For anybody, I'm sorry, $5 per person. Children 2 and under are free. And I will give you the website, but it's really not important because it starts at 10 o'clock today, I believe, till 1. So get on over there after you get done watching the show. All right, let's see. Then we have one more thing here. This is from our friends at Prevention Works. And I don't know if you have a picture on that or not, Jeff. But anyways, they've got some classes going on the following, there we go. It's a little busy to look at, but I'll just give you the gist of it. This is up at the Dunkirk site over Lakeshore Drive at the Resource Center. They are having the following classes for parents: dealing with disobedience on April 3. April 10th is developing good bedtime routines. April 17th, hassle-free shopping, my favorite. And then there's one more. April 24th is fighting and aggression. Attendance incentive, children of 0 to 12. Wait. I got to read this here. It's all free of charge. And give them a call at 679-8946 and ask for Lucy. Again, 679-8946. And they got some prizes and things like that. So that's from Prevention Works. We're going to take a little breather. So this is from my friends from Lakeshore Center for the Arts and my buddy Rick Mascaro. Have a look. Thank you.
This is Rick Mascaro, Executive Director of Lakeshore Center for the Arts in Westfield, New York. Get ready. Get ready to enjoy original works of theater from all over the world, from a stage wherever you are. Our Readers Theater provides original audio play productions, which you can find by using the link found in this post. And even more audio plays were just posted for your listening pleasure. We hope you enjoy and discuss them with your friends. Well, you can't discuss them with your friends unless you go to this site. Hit that link below. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're hearing what I'm hearing in my earpiece. Are you hearing things?
No.
Oh, I hear a boing and boing, and I'm here laughing by myself probably. All right. Rick Mascaro, you can. Yes, you can. They're making this up now. They're telling me they're not hearing. Yeah, there it goes again. Anyways, Rick Mascaro was just talking about the Lakeshore Center for the Arts Readers Group there. I was fortunate to be able to be one of the readers. And so what it is they pick the top 20 plays, 10 dramas, 10 comedies, and they brought in a crew of us that have been actors and actresses over the years, and we went to the Innovation Studio under the direction of Jackie Phillips, who's just awesome there, and headsets and special microphones and things, and we read the plays like a radio show for you to listen to, and then you get to have some input, and when they get all that input, they're going to pick the next 5 and 5 of each one, and then they're going to do live productions of these plays. These plays come from all around the world, and even here in Chautauqua County, and it was really fun. And so I'm very pleased to say that I had voiceovers on 4 of those plays, and it was a lot of fun, and I think you'll enjoy it. So how do you hear them? You go to Lakeshore Center for the Arts, their website, and you'll see a posting about the plays. You click on there, and all the plays that have been read so far are there. You just click on it, and it sounds just like a radio show. So very, very cool. Thanks for including me. Okay, so we want to get to the topic now. I want to welcome back Steve Kilburn to our show. Steve and I had a long discussion back in January. It just seems like it was last week. And you might say, well, here we go again about addiction. This topic is so big, we were talking about this before the show, it's in the fabric of everything in our lives. It's everywhere.
It's true.
And so anyways, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you're associated with, a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to get right into the topic today.
Yeah. Well, Doc, thanks again for
Absolutely.
having me back.
This is important.
You know, I was thinking even as I sat here through the introduction, just being able to put the topic on the table, so to speak, to have open conversations about it is itself progress, because in addition to all the dynamics of addiction, I think kind of silence and secrecy and the stigma, etc. So just being able to openly have a conversation, invite calls and questions, etc. My name is Steve Kilburn. I work at our county's Department of Mental Hygiene, and specifically overseeing some grant initiatives that the county has been awarded, federal grant initiatives, which perhaps I'll mention a little bit more about in a moment. But I work alongside agency partners across the county. So we have a rich county, really, in the form of the services. And one of the goals here today is to, again, reiterate how much our county really offers for people struggling with substance use disorder. So we have, a kind of strategic plans and funding to help with those plans. And so I kind of help coordinate our work together as a county addressing this serious
Steve, how long have you been in
problem.
this business?
Well, I've been in the position that I have right now for 4 years at the county level. I've worked as an inpatient drug and alcohol counselor for many years in the past. So, and other related fields. So, yeah, I've done this for a while.
Okay, so is the problem bigger, smaller, the same over the years? That's why I was trying to get a historical approach.
Sure. I think it would be right to say it's gotten worse. And by all means, by one of the most important and most tragic metrics, namely the numbers of overdose deaths, there's no question that starting, especially in 2021, well, let me back up. It meaning the numbers of deaths suffered by residents of our county, true in other counties, true in the nation as a whole. But speaking about Chautauqua County at the moment, the numbers of deaths that we've seen has been increasing for several years, but in 2021 it really spiked to the highest levels that we've ever had. And while the numbers for 2022 aren't completely settled, there's a process of determining specifically and confirming whether or not an overdose was the cause of death. We're going to be in about the same category, it looks like, for 2022.
I used to laugh because people would say, as you get older, you read the obituaries to see if you're in there or your friends, the old joke, Mark Twain type thing. But I do read the obituaries now because I am shocked and I am glad at the same time. Now you say, how can you be both? I'm shocked to see the deaths of so many young people, but I'm also glad that at least families are acknowledging things. Now let me explain real quick, and then you can take it from there. I will see so-and-so died tragically after a long fight with addiction.
That's
something along these lines, right? So I'm glad that at least the stigma is,
Yes.
you're not embarrassed to talk about it, and maybe, just maybe, somebody says, hey, this is real.
Yeah.
And this is what happened to our kiddo.
Yeah. So sadly, doctors, 50 plus families who have had to, write that obituary in one form or another each year for the last couple of years.
Really?
Yeah. The numbers of deaths are, over one a week on average. Of course, that isn't consistent, but
Close, yeah.
yeah, and yes, the acknowledgement that this is a real struggle that many people face. By the way, you mentioned with the obituaries, and I think, perhaps understandably, those instances where we see somebody in their 20s having passed away, that we wonder if that maybe was related to addiction, and in some instances, perhaps it was. You might be surprised to know, though, that the median age of those who die in our county is actually in the early 40s.
Really? Well, let's explain what median means, because
So it would be, in essence, it's not quite the same to say as the average age, although I could say it that way and it'd be the point would stand. But the median age is that there are the same number of instances less than 41, it was, I think, last year, as there are older.
Right.
So are there young people in their 20s who have died of substance use? Yes. But so too have their 50s and 60-year-olds.
So basically, you take all the people that have passed because of drugs, the age in the middle. Right.
Young
right
40,
at the half point.
Young 40s.
Yeah.
Early 40s. So that's, for some perceptions, I think, is older than many people might realize. And it does underscore this point that this isn't a phenomenon that's happening to one demographic.
Okay.
Not one age demographic. It does happen more to men than women in terms of death. And we are seeing that while we are a county that's primarily Caucasian and 90% plus, we do see ethnic and racial minorities overrepresented in the drug overdose fatalities. So we have some concepts of where maybe some of the higher risks are, but there is, as I think I may have tried to underscore the last time, there's never a kind of short answer to any question related to addiction, it seems. There's always a complexity about it. There's not a stereotype that we can point to and say, well, that's the person that's going to be struggling with this. This is who's dying, etc. There are patterns, but there is no easy answer or stereotype.
Okay, so let's go what I often tell my guests, the 30,000 foot.
Yeah.
Define addiction. Because a lot of people say, well, I'm not addicted.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe
So,
you are.
Addiction isn't an official, if you will, clinical term, although there is a clinical term that's in some ways synonymous, substance use disorder. And I couldn't quote to you, although I could have some years ago when I was working directly in the clinical field, the particular criteria, but they include things like the inability to stop or cut back on use, the recurrent negative, continued use in spite of negative consequences to oneself or others, the experience of withdrawal symptoms, the cravings. These would be the sort of criteria which could be used to make a clinical diagnosis of substance use disorder.
And it could be other addictions as well. I mean,
It could be other addictions as well.
that's what I'm saying. If you start with addiction, then we could talk about all kinds of addiction. But today we're primarily talking about substance abuse.
Exactly. There are behavioral disorders as well. So patterns of behavioral addiction, gambling would be probably the most common. But yeah, I think for the moment there's plenty to talk about just around the chemical addictions.
Okay. Can you ever become unaddicted? That was my question for today that I brought.
Yes. Again, I think there's never a short answer. Anyone who has ever experienced a substance use disorder, I think, and this would be people with lived experience, would say that they are always at some risk of returning to self-destructive pattern of using. However, studies have shown that after, I think it's roughly, and again, this is probably more average than to be applied in every instance, but some 4 to 5 years of what we might call continued remission, namely no substance use after having had a pattern of addiction, addictive use. 4 to 5 years after of abstinence, in general, the risk of returning to a pattern of addiction is about the same as it is for the general population.
Okay.
So after 4 or 5 years of abstinence, studies have indicated that they're at no higher risk than anyone else.
Well, that's good to know. I did not know that. Okay. All right. So, when I was growing up, being a musician and all that stuff, they always figured, you know, we rockers were druggers. Well, I was not a drugger. I never used drugs. Though I drank, but I don't anymore. Marijuana, there was speed, there was LSD, things of this nature. And then everything changed and so forth. So what are the drugs that we're seeing these days?
Yeah, well, to some degree, some of the legacy drugs, I guess I'll call them, remain. So it's not that they have disappeared from the scene. But for the most part, today when we're addressing addiction, and in particular the patterns of overdose, which I don't think anyone is unfamiliar with the problem with, we're talking about, well, the most deadly being opioids. And let me say a little bit more about what that is. So the story is largely told that in the, say, 2000s, 1990s, early 2000s, that the prescription patterns with opioids such as hydrocodone and especially oxycodone were at rates, in broad terms, that were inappropriately high, with the false belief that the substances were not addictive. And in so doing created a lot of addictive problems. Now, I say that really more as a historical point because the current sort of opioid, I guess, phase that we're experiencing as a nation, spike, opioids have been around for decades, but centuries perhaps, but it most recently began with that prescribing pattern. But that isn't really so much the case anymore because that was sort of largely gave way as regulations tightened up on prescribing, et cetera, to a kind of a new wave where that need, if you will, the market, if I can put it that way, opened up and heroin stepped in.
Okay.
So we saw heroin use increase both by those who perhaps had become addicted because of the prescription pills, but others as well. Started with opioids and then with heroin. And then these are all opioids, hydrocodone, heroin, and today we're in a sort of third phase where even heroin has kind of given way to this synthetic opioid called fentanyl.
Okay.
In fact, your viewers might be interested to learn that with a couple of cases pending, in 2022, of all the folks who passed away, as is almost always the case in the nation, the vast majority did have fentanyl in their system. None of them had heroin in their system.
Now, heroin was like a cheap.
Yeah, so heroin's an agriculturally based drug, the poppy plant, but it, insofar as being agriculturally based, is dependent upon everything else that agricultures depend on, weather and shipping, et cetera. It's largely disappeared from the streets, and it may never return insofar as its replacement, fentanyl, is a synthetic opioid. Requires no agriculture and none of the vagrancies of weather and shipping and all of this. It can be produced en masse using industrial chemicals. And for the most part, the supplies coming into this country, as I understand it, are coming via Mexico. They're created with legal chemicals, like I said, industrial chemicals, and it is so potent and can be created and manufactured, if you will, in such quantities that the distribution of it has become so difficult to oversee.
2 quick questions.
Yeah.
Why would someone use fentanyl, and what form does it come in?
So it's often mixed with, well, it's I think in some form always mixed with something else, whether that's a sort of filler additive or another addictive drug. It was being mixed with heroin, and then, as I said, it's kind of, heroin has largely kind of disappeared. It's still laced into other drugs like cocaine and methamphetamine. People die not even intending to take fentanyl, insofar as it's been put into other drugs.
so
they had no idea that they were going to get it.
Is that scary or what?
But to your question, why would anyone take it? Well, it is an opioid, and it addresses the need, the need, if you will, the biological cravings, etc., for an opioid, and it is available. And so those who are struggling with an opioid use
you get a high from this?
Yes.
A euphoria type thing? All right, this is going to be a tough question, all right? We always heard about gateway drugs, marijuana and so forth, nicotine. What's the path that people take to get to this point? Is there a path?
There are paths.
Okay, so can you talk a little bit about those?
So, I mean, there's never a simple answer.
Right,
and I say that not just as a sort of dodge of the question, but it's a principle that I think we all do well to keep in mind. That we're talking about an extremely complex topic, and that simplistic answers just don't serve us well. But to answer try to answer your question, how do people get involved? How do they find themselves in this situation? To be sure, some people, many people, begin with what we might simply call a recreational pattern of use. There's one sort of a paradigm I've heard that probably helps capture some of the reasons why people might start using. One is to feel good. And that would be the sort of recreational use. Initially, whether it's alcohol, whether it's any of the, mind-altering, emotionally active or affecting drugs, it feels good. People use it to feel good. After a time, they'll use it to feel better. And by that, as time progresses with the use of a substance like this, it's not even so much I want to feel good, it's that I don't want to feel bad anymore. And the withdrawal, it's coping with the withdrawal symptoms. Many people who have had a pattern of substance use for any length of time will tell you that their use of whatever, the opioid, let's just say, isn't so much because it gives them a high. It keeps them from the
dropping.
Going back. Others might use to, as it's sometimes said, to feel good, to feel better, to do better, meaning it's sort of enhances, especially like, say, a stimulant. I don't know if you did. I had a cup of coffee this morning. That would be normal for me in the morning. It's a mild stimulant. And I, do better if I have it. I think I do better. And the final reason that, in broad terms, is that people use because others around them are using. But to circle back to that feel good or feel better, for some, it's a recreational pattern that gets them started. But let's also acknowledge that there are those, especially with opioids, who are, it's a pain management approach.
It's supposed to be a very good pain management.
It's another topic, but one of the consequences, sadly, of the restrictions on pain medications are that some folks who have very legitimate chronic pain problems have been really left, without the medication that they were able, that they had to function, that they needed to function. But some, it's physical pain. For others, it's a mental health. There's, whether it's depression, anxiety, other reasons. It's their attempts to cope with that situation. There is some, again, no one size fits all here, but there are some for whom, as we would rightly acknowledge substance use, addictive patterns of it especially, as a problem. Whether they would put it in these terms or not, I'm not sure, but they might say, it's not my problem, it's my attempt at a solution to my problem.
Yeah, I can see
Whether
that.
the problem is pain,
I'm doing something about
mental
it,
health, maybe just a sense of despair and hopelessness. This is the one place where I can kind of escape into something that actually feels good in my life. So again, every story is distinct, but I don't think that we can just say, well, everybody just got involved in it because they made a choice to just go party.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true for some,
Yeah.
but it's not everybody's story.
Okay. Wow. Well, thank you for that. I think that people still have that mentality of these dark alleys,
Right.
where people are shooting up and it's, dirty needles. That's still happening, but
Of course.
But I mean, this is happening in
Homes, yeah,
America, USA,
exactly.
and age-wise, what are we talking here as far as addiction goes?
Well, again, in terms of the
Starting.
starting, yeah. Well, it's again, there's no one-size-fits-all answer, but it is important to acknowledge that anyone who starts, most people, and this would be probably the vast majority of people who end up with a substance use disorder started before the age of 25.
Okay.
And I say that age, or that age is often referenced because it's around that age that the brain is still developing. People that start people can become addicted and have very severe problems if they start after the age of 25. It's just that that's far less common. It's the earlier of initiation of use, the higher the risk of a lifetime pattern.
So I'm going to guess middle school, perhaps?
Well, again, that it does start for some in middle school, high school. Again,
I guess what I'm saying is this is not an adult issue. This is an all-age group.
it is an all-age
And to
group
be
issue, and the initiation of it, to your point, is usually pre-mid-20s.
Okay. And we can get to, is it amygdala or whatever it's called?
Right.
We don't need to go there today, at this point anyways. But I do want to talk about real quick, and then I'm going to just let you go take
Sure.
off any direction you want. Xylazine was in the paper yesterday.
Yeah.
So I really want to touch on this so that people have a follow-up to that
Yeah.
article.
Yeah.
So, you read it, go, well, what's that all about? Here's the opportunity to actually listen.
Yes.
What's it all about?
Yeah. So xylazine is, well, first of all, it's a veterinary medication, horse tranquilizers. In fact, the street name of the drug is sometimes called Trank. It's not new. In fact, it's not even new in the illicit drug supply, generally speaking, but it is a growing phenomenon. Fentanyl, to step back to that drug again for the moment, is an opioid, but a fairly short-acting one. And as a result, the high is fairly quick. What you're seeing on the screen right now is this was actually in January, but it kind of put the topic, a New York Times fairly large article, put the topic kind of, I think, on the national stage, referencing this Trank, or xylazine. You can see it there in the subheading. But back to the fentanyl. The fentanyl is a fairly short-acting opioid. People need to use it again and again if they're going to either get the high or, as I said, deal with their withdrawal symptoms. This tranquilizer, xylazine, added to fentanyl, and it virtually always is an additive to fentanyl as opposed to a freestanding drug of use. It extends that high. So that's its sort of purpose in being added.
So it's really chemistry.
Well, I mean, at one level, all of this stuff is chemistry. Again, it's not brand new, but it has risen, and the reason why it's of particular concern, at least two in particular, as we see more of it in the illicit drug supply. The first is that unlike fentanyl, which responds to Narcan, and I'll make mention of this in a moment. I brought some today just to show. Xylazine, when it's consumed, is a tranquilizer. It has that depressant effect, broadly the same effects that fentanyl has, reduced breathing, etc. But it does not respond to Narcan. So xylazine is not an opioid. It does not respond. Here's some basic facts about it. Causes drowsiness, slow breathing, low heart rate, low blood pressure. So it has all these effects.
Slows you right down.
Slows you down, as does an opioid. But it does increase the risk of a fatal overdose, and it works synergistically with the fentanyl. But it also does not respond to Narcan.
Well, that's scary.
It is scary. And then the other main reason of concern, in addition to it's not responding to Narcan, is that it's being reported that for some reason, I couldn't explain it, that it causes these horrid wounds and infections.
Abscesses,
Abscesses.
like big pus pockets.
As that article at the New York Times makes mention, in some instances, limbs or fingers, what have you, have had to be amputated because of the severity.
So in that previous photo that we popped up, that person was all bandaged.
Exactly. That was
because I was wondering what that was about.
Yeah.
I don't think this was mentioned in the article. I don't remember. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
So that person looks pretty beat up. So
exactly.
Holy cow.
So the reports are from, say, Philadelphia, that some 90% of the street drug supply had xylazine in it. Now, I want to say kind of clearly that we have indications that it is appearing in our local drug supply. We don't know the extent of that. And I don't want the concerns about xylazine, which are legitimate, to sort of eclipse the, in some ways, more ongoing and pressing concerns, simply if that's the word,
right,
about fentanyl. In other words, it's not like we are now focused on xylazine and fentanyl is a minor problem. No,
right,
it's really fentanyl that's principally the issue. And if there's a single message, I think the xylazine just underscores it's this, that there is no safe street drug.
Okay.
There is no safe street drug. The quality control is, in essence, non-existent. Some people seek out fentanyl because it is an opioid. Others will get it without intending to consume it. But in neither of those cases do they really know how much is in a drug supply.
The question just came through my earpiece was, I'm not sure we touched on this. So let's just say you have fentanyl that's laced with xylazine. How is it taken into the body?
Well, injection would be, as I understand, probably the principal way. But fentanyl can't, and I confess to not knowing if there's any distinctions with the xylazine that make it unique, but fentanyl can be injected, it can be smoked as well. Another means of consumption of fentanyl, which I don't think to this point involves anything with xylazine, but it is in some ways as much of a concern, is that fentanyl is being put into pressed pills. This is a unique concern because it puts, I think, younger people as well at higher risk. So street drugs, illicitly managed or what shall we say, distributed drugs, are sometimes in the form of what look to be legitimate pharmaceutical medications. And I want to be clear, I'm not talking about the actual legitimate pharmaceutical supply. That's fine. But there are those drugs sold on the street that are, by all appearances, hydrocodone, Adderall, Ativan. I mean, there's different classes of medications that people might not even have a pattern of use that makes it an addiction, but they they occasionally take one. They have a pain, they don't have a doctor that's giving them hydrocodone, they find somebody that's selling a hydrocodone on the street. The problem today, whereas once upon a time those would have probably been diverted legitimate pharmaceuticals, diverted out of somebody's,
they get out of their drug cabinet.
As I say, sort of, out of grandma's drug cabinet. Today, it's as likely as not, perhaps, that those are actually produced by the drug cartels. But to the eye, they look to be legitimate pharmaceuticals. But what's actually in them?
Who knows?
Fentanyl is often in them.
Okay.
There are instances, I don't know that we've had any in our county, thankfully, but there are plenty of instances across the country where a young person, no pattern of addiction, does what admittedly was kind of a knuckleheaded thing by buying a drug, but it's not like this is a normal pattern for them, etc. It's a mistake, and they die on the spot. Most of us do not want to have had death as the penalty for our young mistakes.
That was not the plan. Steve, you brought this in.
I do. I want to make sure that, with the time that we have left, that I do say some things about responses to
Yeah,
the
so-
pressing issues. And I do appreciate this opportunity, especially right now.
Absolutely.
Some might have seen in the papers recently, we are experiencing kind of a spike in overdoses again in our county. So it's very timely to underscore this. But what I brought with me is a Narcan kit. Narcan, the generic name's
You
naloxone.
can hold it right up for the camera.
Oh,
Over
there we go.
you
Here we go. This is a medication that actually is just last week now approved for over-the-counter sales, although you could really access it quite easily even prior to this week. But it is a medication that reverses the effects of an opioid overdose. And it's widely available, and in fact we have distributed, as our county government and the partners we have in the county, hundreds if not thousands of these kits, and they are used. People are reversing overdoses all the time with this medication. It comes in the form of a nasal spray, as you can see in the photo there, so administering it is no more difficult than any other nasal spray. And of course, it can't be self-administered. It needs to be administered by somebody who is a witness to what looks to be an overdose. And I say looks to be an overdose because if perchance someone is unconscious for reasons other than a drug overdose, the use of Narcan isn't going to do any harm.
Okay.
So it's best to, if there's any
Err
reason
on
to
the
think,
side.
err on the side
Yeah.
of safety. What it has the effect of doing, though, is in a sense knocking off the opioid off of the receptors in the brain and almost immediately reversing the effects of the opioid, the depressed breathing, etc. People have used this in any number of instances. I was talking to a woman not long ago who recounted a case where she had some in her home and a neighbor had overdosed, a young person, and somebody was yelling for help or what have you, and the person I was speaking with ran over, had Narcan, administered it, reversed
Saved
the
her life.
overdose. This was a few years ago.
Right.
She says this young person is now doing great, has a career going on, fine.
Yep. As you say, maybe a mistake. See, we have a phone call. Want to take a call?
I'd love to take
Okay. Good morning, caller.
Oh, good morning. This is Linda Spalding. Good morning,
Hi, Linda.
Scott. Good morning, Doc. I don't want to interrupt your very valuable presentation. We all need to know more about it and hear more about it. It really is a matter of concern. And thank you for coming on. I did want to mention that I want to pay recognition to Mark Russell. You probably know
yes,
Mark Russell,
yes.
who died on the 30th of March at age 90. He was not only was he a great satirist and presenter, but he did a lot of good things for the community. He helped with fundraising for the Westfield Memorial Hospital.
I didn't know
and
that.
with the Chautauqua Institution.
That I knew.
And he was really a wonderful man and very humble. It's a loss because he was a shining light in our community.
Well, here's a little known fact. He went to the same high school as I did.
Well, Canisius.
Exactly, class of '55, as I
Yeah,
recall.
yeah.
Not same year as me.
You look very good for
Thank
90,
you,
Doc.
thank you. But I mean, so we do have that connection. Yeah, that's a great loss, obviously. And if you have never seen him on stage, he's quite a character. Was quite a character, and still is.
Yes, he's
So,
a very kind man. Well, I don't want to interrupt your presentation.
All right.
Have a very good weekend and week coming up.
Thank you. Enjoy the nice weather and the flowers.
too. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. So how does someone get a hold of this Narcan? I mean,
Yes.
you said you can buy it. Is there a distribution for the county? or-
Yeah, so it's probably not literally available over the counter yet in terms of getting distribution, et cetera. But that really doesn't need to impact people's access to it. You can go to a pharmacy now and just ask for it. So there is a standing prescription for every New York State resident to get it. So it's virtually over the counter in that sense. But there are even more accessible ways. And the shortest version of how to find them as well as other resources in the county, is to go to a website that we've established, combatAddictionCHQ.com. We have a logo here, which that is kind of our brand as well, because we want folks to know where they can go to find the resources, whether it's where to go and find free Narcan, or where they, and here's the website, combatAddictionCHQ.com. They can also find on this website a host of all kinds of services that are available in our county. As I said, we're a rich county in services. And there's even a little button on that website, if you noticed, and if you go there, you'll see, that says, if you need help finding help. Because in the moment, whether it's for oneself or a family member, in the moment of like all the chaos and stress that can surround addiction, it can just be very hard to navigate the system. We will help you find the help you need.
You know, and that's crucial because, you know, we never look for things like this until you need the things.
Exactly.
And now we are a social media kind of a nation. So where's this button?
So in the lower left, you see a blue button that says
I do.
Need help finding help. That'll connect a person to a contact page, and they can just, basically email us with a contact number, and we will personally get back in touch with them and kind of understand what they're looking for, what they need, and be able to say, okay, here's the service in the county that could help you.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, isn't there like a 211 emergency number?
There is a 211. That's a great resource as well for lots of services, not just addiction services, but 211 is a resource for all kinds of community services.
So
that would be another place to look.
Yeah. Sometimes we have people that are not real technical, and they
211 would be a good place to
excellent
to reach out.
All right, we got a couple minutes, about 2.5 minutes, Steve. So other information or anything else? What else should we talk about?
Well, I think two things quickly. As I briefly mentioned, we are witnessing at the moment, namely in March, a kind of spike in overdoses. And this has happened periodically, and we try to message that out to the community when it does. It's almost certainly driven by a change in the supply, namely the potency of the drugs in the illicit drug supply is creating more overdoses, and it's very, very dangerous. There is no safe street drug. They are dangerous and potentially deadly. So I want to underscore that, but in the very short time that we have, I also want to be clear that there are resources and that there is hope. We talk, and we need to, about the severity of the problems related to addiction, but we sometimes do so to the neglect of talking about the fact that many, 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 many people do get better.
Well, that's good to know.
It is good to know. That is not a hopeless situation, as much as it might feel that way. And I would not want anyone in the situation of having an addiction or knowing someone with an addiction to feel like it is of necessity going to end badly. It's serious. If it isn't addressed, it can very well end badly, but there is hope and there are services to help people.
So support groups?
All kinds of help. For some, support groups would be so valuable. For others, individual treatment. For some, it's a medication. For most, it's going to be all of the above to some degree.
So they would meet with someone through your agencies?
We could get them into an appointment sometimes same day, within a day or two at the longest. People can access treatment in a host of different ways. The most important thing is that they reach out and say, I need help.
Okay. Folks, you've been watching Chautauqua Sunrise. My guest today, again, has been Steve Kilburn, and I appreciate your expertise and willingness to share all this information. It's an issue in our county.
It is.
Period. And it's an issue in all counties, but it's here in Chautauqua County, and that's what we talk about. One more time, how would people get information if they need help this minute?
Best place to go, right there, combatAddictionCHQ.com, both to find information, but also as a means of reaching out and getting contact with somebody who could help you personally.
All right. Steve, thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
Is there a phone number of any sort?
Not as... No.
211
would be the best one. Yeah, not that I could come up with off the top of my head.
Okay, very good. All right, folks, I hope this is helpful. Please, if you know someone that's trying to get some help or you need help, Steve said there's hope. and very often success at the end of that help series. Okay, so enjoy your April. We're starting off on a good foot here, and enjoy the warm weather, and have a great weekend. And we're going to see you all right here next Saturday at 9 a.m. I'm Doc Hamels. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
A little deeper.